You're entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings. Friends, we have come to the conclusion of the 2023 Masters Tournament. Jon Rahm is your new winner and owner of the green jacket. Geoff Fienberg is on the line with me to break this all down. But a reminder to all of you to smash the like button while you're here, sub to Mayo Media Network. And if you want to continue to get in the draw, we got $500 to give away on Wednesday's show. Subscribe, rate, and review 5 stars. The Pat Mayo Experience Audio Podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify. The listeners link for the Heritage down in the description. The Research Show is already out on the pod feed and Mayo Media Network. Geoff, I'm figuring, we'll let this show breathe for a little bit, maybe come back sometime in the afternoon tomorrow night with our Heritage picks. Take a breather because I really enjoyed the Masters. I thought it was fucking great.
An incredible Masters. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted because that was a lot of golf and early mornings, but Thursday was amazing and the right guy won and he was in the wrong wave. And maybe that should be worth like 1.5 green jackets, winning from the wave from which he won.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to call it 1.5. I'm just so happy. Like, I would have been happy with Brooks as well. It's just more fun that Cust picked him and then was victory lapping it to me like 2 days ago. And the one guy he said could not win the tournament after hole 1 of the tournament ends up being the guy that he had primo Anderkirk, if there ever was one. But yes, it was not onto Harbour Town for Jon Rahm. It was onto Butler Cabin for Jon Rahm. But I'm just happy I'm going to have Rahm in my life for 40 years. That's the best part about the Masters. And I would have loved to have Brooks there. I would have loved to have Rahm there, although I really don't know how long Brooks is like. Would you expect if Brooks had won the Masters, do you think you would have seen him there as a 60-year-old like Sandy Lyle?
Yeah, I do, because I think it's like a lot of it is a big act. Although, I mean, full credit to him and the entire squad, Phil and Reed, they showed up and they played. Phil played way above his talent, but just I wonder if Brooks feels emboldened because there's been a lot of talk that he has some buyer's remorse, or, if he knew he was going to be healthy again, maybe he wouldn't have done it. But I would argue that his performance this week almost reinforces that other angle, which was like that obvious one that, he only cares about majors. He can still play in them pretty much. And this just works for him. But I'm thrilled to have Rahm forever because I'm a huge Rahm guy. Like,
when did it feel to you like it was over for Rahm? And because there was a point where Brooks was struggling a little bit. Rahm couldn't get off the mat early. Hovland was playing like dog shit, but he kept making these 13-foot par putts, 16-foot par putts. It's like, well, if he just keeps making these, not all day, but like he's playing really mediocre at the moment. If he starts playing well and starts making 6-foot putts, all of a sudden he can vault himself into it. When did it become apparent that it was not only a 2-player race to you, but like Rahm is just going to win this?
I don't know. It's the Masters. You get nervous. You have those thoughts of Spieth on 12, and I wasn't thrilled. Like, I didn't think the 8 unders could mean anything, but I was annoyed to see guys posting in some ways at 8. When did it feel like it was his? Probably truly when he got the birdie on 13. But probably maybe in many's eyes, the 8th hole could have been a big flip. And Brooks rode the struggle bus all day.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was was it 10 where Brooks's ball didn't stick and it rolled back? And it would have been, I think he even mentioned in the post-round interview with Amanda that it would have been a tap in. It was either 9 or 10. Now I can't remember because Brooks got super aggressive on 11 and actually had a fantastic shot. But from that point on, when Brooks wasn't able to convert, made another bogey, and Rahm was sitting there 2 or 3 up at that point, it was just hit the center of the green, make some putts. And the shot he made on 14 was fucking incredible out of the woods.
Many, many incredible shots. And honestly, Pat, an enormous swing. Obviously, when they came on the air this morning to finish the 3rd round, and it was that instant two-stroke swing. But on 12 this morning, Rom puts it into the shit and it spins out of it. It's got a bit of a mud ball, but he has a great up and down. And it's Bryson and it's Brooks who makes, bogey there. It's like Rom just hit it into like a bush and it rolled out. And Brooks is the one making bogey. Some insane shit that Brooks par this morning on 10, where he hits it out sideways. He's still got 181 in, and he hits it to 12 feet. Like, that was quintessential. I guess when any player's on top of the world, that's what they do. But it feels like we saw Scheffler do that for almost like a year straight, that exact thing in big moments. I'm so proud of Brooks, but I'm so happy for Rom. What an outstanding Masters. And I don't know, like, Liv kind of feels like a big winner out of this in some
funny,
ways.
That's in my notes right now. I feel like this was it's funny because it's a big win for the Liv players, but no one's going to fucking tune in to Liv whatever next time. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, see, Pat, here's the thing. Liv is about to go overseas and play back-to-back weeks in like 2 weeks.
In Australia?
It's Australia and then maybe into Asia somewhere. They're obviously
Patrick Reed's got to start grinding the Asian tour here in the next few weeks so he can get enough world rankings points to get into the PGA Championship.
And great little point system for Reed this week. But yeah, Liv's got a couple weeks in a row, and obviously they're going to try to pick on the week schedule, as we know, post sort of the Heritage. It's like 3 weeks of just death on the PGA Tour. And I think there's 2 Liv events in there. But you're absolutely right, Pat. It was amazing to see Brooks. But Brooks is almost telling you never need to watch me on the Liv Tour, despite him winning a week ago. Like, his whole attitude is that nothing. I'm not saying Liv doesn't matter. You can make your decision on that. I don't need to have that debate. That's whatever. But I just mean no one is going to, just because Brooks played well this week, I don't think people are going to tune in to Liv in 2 weeks to see Brooks golf. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you are. I don't think that anyone's going out of their way to watch Liv Tour because the Liv guys did really well. And they really did. Like, when you take a look at it, when you had Phil, Brooks, and Reed all inside the top 4 finishers, which is pretty incredible. But I think it just makes the PGA Championship, when these guys come back, that more interesting. It's funny, when we broke down on Monday's show, I think it was, what you would like, the optimal like 3 guys that you would want to see from the Liv Tour actually be in contention down the stretch. I think I said it was Bryson, Phil, and Reed and or Brooks. And 3 of those guys ended up getting there. Although no, they weren't. It was almost like a Jason Day top 10 is the way I would kind of describe it. Like, they were never really in it because Rom started pulling away by the time they actually got back into it. Like, did you ever think that when Phil posted that Phil had a chance to win?
No, but I didn't like him posting that because the leader was on. Rom was only at 10, and I really wanted Rom to win. And like I said, I've seen really weird things happen. Speaking of Jason Day, I mean, for all the guys that were up there, even for a moment, be it, Victor on Thursday and then sort of peaking this morning, and Cameron Young having multiple moments and, dipping down, but finally coming back up. Jason Day was the only one who literally like evaporated.
I mean, he made what, 4 double bogeys in a 6-hole stretch? Man, that's going to do you in. Yeah. As soon as he hit that shot on 15 on Friday when we were doing the Cut Sweat show, and he made the double on 15 in the second round, it was just the end of him. He went double, bogey, par, bogey. He went from -9 to -5. And what did he finish? +8 or something?
But even before he made the double, he missed like a 4-footer for birdie. So that tilted him. And obviously it ruined him. I'm trying to think, like, yeah, Liv is the takeaway. Other than the winner, Liv is the takeaway to the point that Liv almost like surpassed the Sam Bennett story, seeing them really podium up with Phil and Brooks and Reed, as you mentioned.
Well, I think this might create a decent betting opportunity because now the Liv guys, everyone kind of wrote them off coming into this week being like, well, who knows what's going on. The only 2 that people gave any credence to whatsoever were Brooks, and Cam Smith, who played like okay, but didn't do anything great. But you even saw like Neiman Neiman was sort of like Cam Young, like the mini version of him all week. Neiman would just go on these runs for 4 holes and be like, oh my God, there's Neiman. He's on the front page of the leaderboard. Like, where the hell did Neiman go? And all of a sudden he's tied for 30th again. But I think that Augusta, I mean, if Fred Couples can make the cut and not necessarily be competitive, but he continued to make the cut at 63, and Tiger, who can't walk, can end up making the cut. Maybe we shouldn't be surprised that guys that always play well at Augusta played well at Augusta, regardless of what tour that they're on.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe Augusta isn't a fair barometer and people will be overrated, be it in DFS or otherwise, in the next major. Although PGA Championships and US Open, I mean, if you don't have that like DJ Neiman, I'm just picking from the live guys. Like if you don't have a certain skill set, like I don't even give a shit who you are. As for Neiman, I'm interested, but I would be willing to bet he was top 10 in total birdies, maybe like top 8 in this event.
I did see. I didn't see what the overall numbers were like total looking at a list, but I had to go see how many birdies Spieth made. He made 21 birdies.
Wow. Yep. You see this morning, Sam Burns made 2 doubles and a triple.
I did not. No, I wasn't paying attention to Sam Burns.
Yeah, guys were getting got everywhere. But what a great tournament. Obviously, the weather turned it into a bit of a thing, and it almost like for an event where you almost like abandon your family, I found that I had to abandon my family more than usual, Pat. Because normally today, like would have been happy to hang out in like the morning with my family or my kids, but I couldn't not watch what was happening. Especially because CBS decided that they were going to show it today, learning from their mistake the other day. And for us in Canada, Pat, I don't know if you caught this on Saturday, but James Duffy, like the host at TSN, he's a big hockey guy. He literally apologized for not being able to show Rahm and Brooks.
Yeah, I thought that, I constantly shit on every broadcast that there is. I was even shitting on TSN at the Players when they weren't offering Canadians the watch all feeds in terms of picking the group that you wanted to see. They only offered Canadian groupings that you could go and watch, not everyone else. I don't fucking care about this. This is awful. But they did a good job of explaining that. They did a great job. I mean, what they did as a part of their main feed when the like actual broadcast coverage wasn't on, so like the early round coverage, and they need the rights in order to be able to do this, but they've been granted that from Augusta National.
We're the only in the world that
I think he said that there were 4 countries that are allowed to show the digital rights, but they essentially did what my idea for the green zone is. They just cut around from all of the feeds that they had to make sure that they just showed shots all the time. It was excellent. It was the best viewing experience, probably, like you said, in the world that you could watch on TV.
I agree. We were fortunate for that, but even them and all their greatness couldn't do anything about the first 3 holes of Rahm and Brooks on, what was it? I guess Saturday. I don't know. It's all a blur. And I'm sure you've written your Heritage article. I apologize, I haven't read it yet. But is everybody's Heritage thing going to be this week? Like you're going to use the Masters as, oh, he performed poorly or or didn't play. Like that's a blessing, right? Like,
no,
is that the big talking point?
I think that used to be, I just, the point that I tried to make in both the video, I don't even know if I really wrote about it in the column, but I never really brought that up in the column, was there's just no real rhyme or reason to this tournament. It's an elevated event. Everyone's playing. Like everyone played the COVID year when Webb won. But other than that, like this is usually kind of not a jabroni tournament, but it's not good normally. Like it's one thing if like 5 guys who were like decent, and it was usually like Leishman and Spieth and whoever. There's like 5 guys from the top 25 who had played in the Masters. You're like, oh, well, it's probably very taxing on them. But now we just get everybody. Everyone besides Hideki is playing.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see some dropouts. Like Rahm could drop out.
He might. Who knows? Or maybe he's like, fuck it, riding a heater. Let's go.
Yeah,
they're not, although he might, because he usually plays is he going to play the team event at Zurich?
Who did he plays that with Ryan Palmer because they like lost a bet or something that keeps happening?
Yeah, and he played the Mexico Open last year and won, and I wonder if he's committed to playing that tournament every year.
Yeah, and maybe you want to do the media tour, like you want to do Letterman on Tuesday night or something. I'm just saying, it's a one like he can afford to just skip an elevated event. You're allowed to. Wouldn't be shocked to see him withdraw. I don't know who else at the top would consider that. I don't know if he's playing the team event. I got to be honest, because with the elevated schedule, like who knows? I have no idea.
I don't think that he played it last year because he was playing Mexico before. Maybe he played Wells Fargo. Now I can't remember. I think he played one besides Mexico. He may have played one event before the PGA Championship. That doesn't really matter. One thing I like, I'm happy to have John Rahm in my life for a while. And the shot on 18 was fucking hilarious. There's a shot that I would hit on 18 if I was like in a $100 match with my buddy up one, just pure shank left and have it bounce out in front of me and be like, oh, at least he didn't have to take his dick out. So that's good. Probably for the broadcast because he didn't hit it past the forward tees on the course. But I just like that he has two majors now too. Like there's something like that level up. Like when Dustin got his second, he won his green jacket. And now John Rahm does the same thing. That you're no longer in the Duffner zone or the Keegan zone that, you know, when you get to the end of some illustrious careers and they only have one major, you're like, oh, well, that's not so great. Like Jason Day. Jason Day might perpetually be in that zone, except when you put Jason Day up against and even Sergio for that matter, with his one, like those guys both have one. Like Danny Willett has one. Like those players aren't in the same stratosphere for accomplishments. But when people really think back on it, what they really remember are the majors. That having two is the leap from 1 to 2. Like the next like level up you would probably have to get to is win 4, wouldn't it? Because 3, like who cares? Like Patty has 3, whatever. You know, like there's no difference between 2 and 3. 4 makes you seem like you're a level above, but the gap from like 1 major to 2 majors is gigantic.
Yeah, the thing about 3 that could work here is if you get the Open or the PGA, then you're like this omnipresent Grand Slam figure. And maybe when we get Rory fatigue, I guess Spieth is still going to be the guy who's going to own that. Like when we're on full Rory fatigue or think he's too old to maybe do it if he hasn't done it yet. Jason Day has to be the biggest disappointment in that, Pat. And I say that because if you win your first major priced under 20-1 to win that major, that means it's like in our mind, we've almost already given you 3 majors. If that makes any sense. Like the elite stratosphere of player that cashes their first major under 20-1. It's DJ, it's Rahm, it's Day. I'm not sure what Spieth was his first year at the Masters. It could have flirted right on that, but it almost proves the point. Like the expectation of you is so high that having one is almost like and I've always kind of been rude today, although I love his comeback, Pat. Him deciding, like the number 1 golfer in the world decides that he's going to live in Columbus, Ohio. That's why you have 1 major and injuries. But you cannot deny in the smallest way that has to be a factor.
I don't know. Is it? Like you can still practice. Who cares?
To me, it's just something about it. It's the weirdest shit ever. No one else pulls that. Good for her to not like want to like level up into Florida. Her Scottsdale seems weird to me also, but they never did. Good Columbus boy from Australia.
What else do we have here? I thought that the broadcast did Patrick Reed a disservice. I was watching that 4 through 6 feed when the leaders were on 1, 2, and 3. Like I really wanted to see. I had a bet on Lowry and Rose, a Prize Picks code DOP, by the way, at prizepicks.com. In order to get yourself a match deposit of up to $100. I played them both over 3.5 birdies, and Rose got there on 18, which was very nice of Justin Rose to help me out. But I want to see what they were up to. But it kept cutting to Patrick Reed. He could have been like, he missed 3 birdie putts on those holes that he just lipped out. Like he could have been lower today.
100%. And yesterday he missed a bunch. Also worth probably talking about, Pat, is it seems like I'm not alone, and most agree that we The optimal Tiger scenario is Tiger making the cut on the number, playing first thing in the morning on the weekends, essentially being done his round before the golfers who are going to win the tournament tee off. But what we got with this weather, Pat, and the Masters obviously needing to going split tees, created what I referred to yesterday as the doomsday scenario, where Tiger is making the cut on the number, but because we're splitting them, his tee time is with the leaders. And that's the worst. So bad that someone at Augusta freaking National figured it was a better idea to put the man who couldn't walk in on featured.
Paul, is that me or is that him?
Oh, that's him.
That's him. Okay. So I made a few more notes.
Sorry. I'm just laughing. I'm like the freeze frame is pretty perfect, to be perfectly honest, on his thing.
I mean, that freeze frame looks like it's about as put together as Geoff is ever going to be.
That's phoner board worthy moving forward. I gotta save that.
Yeah, if only, as Paul and I were talking about pre-show, if only Geoff somehow had exactly the same camera as me, which he does, and exactly the same microphone as me, which he does, that all of a sudden that maybe he could be as clear as me on the screen. Like, we can't even use that for a phoner board. Too fuzzy.
It's true. I definitely use him from the Honda Classic one is the money shot with the glasses.
Oh, yeah, I assume that Jeff's gonna. Did you watch much of this?
Well,
am I double
watched,
box?
I will. Yeah, let me just switch you. You're single box now.
Excellent.
I didn't know if he was gonna rejoin. I'll make sure that I watch to see when he joins back in here. I watched most of it. Yeah, like I watched pretty much everything today. Watched.
They even gave you a cutaway to Keegan tapping in a birdie.
I didn't notice Keegan really at all for a while. So it's like, was that a Keegan week? Because somebody asked me at the beginning if it was a Keegan week. And I said, no, it's not a Keegan week. And in a field of like 75 people, I feel like, what did he get? Like top 25?
Yeah, he was T23.
Yeah, that's not really like a key. Like, you need to be getting like at least top 20, maybe top 10 in a small field like this for it to be considered a Keegan week, right?
I would think so, yeah. But they showed his shot on 7. I think what Geoff was trying to get to, it sucked that Tiger was in the featured group against the leaders, and that was really tough. It looks like Geoff is coming back online right now, so maybe we can hear him. But one of my favorite things, and this would be fun, it would be really hard to go back and track because it's very difficult to figure out. But Geoff and I have talked about it for a really long time, is like the rabbit group, where you get a group that's like, I don't know, 7 off the lead, like the 7th to last group, and you can kind of live the course through them, and then you can watch all the guys who are actually in contention go and play those holes. And we got the best one I can remember since I want to say it was either 2008 or 2009. It was, I think it was the year that Angel Cabrera won. Tiger and Phil played together, and Tiger and Phil both went off. Like in the 8th to last group. I think they both ended up coming inside the top 10, but they played together. It was awesome. They showed every shot from the two of them, and they were both playing well, which was great. And today we got Phil and Spieth playing together, which means you're going to see all of the course because they're going to be absolutely everywhere. And they played fucking awesome at the same time. Like, that was a great one to have. And they got away from it for a while, which I thought was really strange. Like, they really seemed to commit to showing John Rahm like walking for a minute and a half for no reason. Like, we weren't even seeing Victor drives at some point when he was 2 shots off the lead. They were showing us like, oh yeah, this happened 8 minutes ago. Here's Victor's drive. Like, it was just really strange how that ended up working out. Like, because they really wanted to stick with the leaders, and they wanted to play like the Bennett card a little bit early. That I would have been fine seeing all the Spieth and Phil shots, even if they weren't playing as well as they ended up doing, because then we get a sense of where the pin locations are. And, oh, there's Phil. He's in the trees. I mean, can you play it out of the trees from over there in case that happens? And Spieth is going to do the same thing on the next hole. Is Geoff back? I can see him on my screen. Are you here, Geoff?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, and I'm hardwired in, but my internet is shit. And yes, of course. The guinea pig is fantastic, and we saw it all throughout pretty much. And many of the weird things I think we saw today, Pat, was like 16. Like, how was Ryan Fox the only guy in the field to figure out 16 today? Like that slope. Usually you see like 20 guys make that shot.
I mean, Thigala and Morikawa figured it out. Thigala figured it out perfectly. Morikawa was one rotation away from going full Tiger on 16.
Yes, Thigala figured it out from a chip.
Yeah.
I know that.
Patrick Cantlay, after lining it up for 26 minutes.
What a freaking clown. He should be...
all of you should be fucking embarrassed you bet on him.
Yeah,
because it would not be worth it. It would not be worth it had he have won. You would not feel good about that money because he's the fuck. Trade him to live. Trade him to a tour no one fucking watches. If they had Patrick Cantlay on the live tour, they wouldn't be able to finish their 3 rounds in 3 days. It would be a 4-day event.
If they had,
I'm surprised.
Oh, I had a joke.
I'm surprised his caddy didn't hand him a 3-wood and say, "Just try putting with this, you dope."
If they had Patrick Cantlay, it wouldn't be golf but louder. It would be golf but longer because he just takes forever on everything. He's the worst. He actually, like, obviously I don't watch nearly as much golf as you guys, but it's like, yeah, you can see Brooks, like him and Rahm hanging out, like that's what this is all about. They're just hanging out and like watching Cantlay walk around like a putt like 37 times, like when he's like putting like an 8-footer for bogey or whatever. It was brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Also, and Pat, to the Phil stuff, I would say like, okay, before he ended up actually finishing third, when it was clear he was having a good week and this was like going to be a top 10 finish and something fun was happening, even if it was going to be a top 15, top 20 finish. I don't know how to properly articulate this because maybe I'm in problem, but the entire week, Phil being like a background guy, I don't know how to explain this. Being in your group of friends and like you're with your group of friends, right, Pat? And then someone brings like a friend of a friend into your group. That guy's just like a background guy. Phil being for the entire week, Champions Dinner through a top 10 finish, feeling like a background guy at the Masters is a vibe I do not like. I do not like. Phil is not a background guy. I don't care what happens. Well, see, I care. There's a consequence for everything. But I do not accept Phil as a background guy. I don't want to see that happen again.
I'm with you. Like, I get why they did it. Even Jim Nantz going in saying that hey, look, there's Brooks on the CW. It's a crosswalk. Like it seemed like the more the Masters went on, the more comfortable they got with the live stuff, which I kind of enjoyed because I'm here for it. If I don't have to watch the live tour or care about the live tour, but all of a sudden 4 times a year, these guys get dropped in and it's like compelling TV, but I do want to see them at the same time. That's why I said that they did Reed a disservice, but it felt like they leaned into Phil on Sunday though. They were like, okay, he's here. He's doing well. Let's show him. And the crowd fucking loved him.
But they leaned into him when it was like, oh my, like we couldn't ignore him anymore. Cause Saturday it felt like he didn't exist. And on top of all of that, it just doesn't, I would argue, Pat, that the only reason they started to like be softer about live was because they were potentially anticipating a live player winning and they needed to like open up and accept that potential possibility on the broadcast, if that makes any sense.
I understand that. Because I heard a bunch of times it's like, well, all the live guys are going to be there celebrating with Brooks on the 72nd hole if he wins. But like, aren't they all competing against each other? Aren't they on like different teams? Like, shouldn't his like brother be there to do it? Like, who's on Brooks's team on live?
It's Chase, it's Kokrak, and it's Team Smash. I forget. And
yeah, so if Team Smash wins the Masters, a member, why are the El Torque going to be there to go celebrate with them? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. And I gotta give props to Jason Kokrak for calling out the Masters and calling them chicken shit for not just letting Sandy freaking Lyle finish his putt on 18 after the tree fell. Like, dude, like special exemption. Let the guy finish. It is so weird to me. So props to Kokrak, and was probably his last ever Masters, calling them chicken shit.
No, I tuned into the chat. People are like, the PGA doesn't all Phil a thing. I don't like Phil because he left. Like, fuck off. Like, Phil's a part of the Masters. He's a part of the entertainment factor. And he played fucking great. I love it. I hope he plays well next year too.
Yeah, it's so weird. Is there any way, Pat, that Phil can build himself back up into like having that, like, he'll still be an honorary starter one day, obviously, or they're gonna like ban it, like pretend he doesn't exist for that.
The moment his live deal is done, he can listen. People want to like Phil. People do like Phil, but he gave them a reason not to like him at the moment. So when his live contract is done, he retires from golf, whatever it is. If he just like, hey, sorry, Trevor Immelman, hey, CBS, I'll do it. I'll do it full time. I'll be the color commentator. People fucking love Phil again.
Oh yeah, when he did it at the PGA a couple years ago, maybe even before he actually won the PGA. Yeah, we were putting him in the chair before he won the PGA because I feel like he did it. Anyhow, yeah, he's great at it. I feel like they're an overriding story here. They're the second story. And Sam Bennett, that guy, he seems like a little prick. I feel like you'll love him. Like,
I mean, he might as well be like, you can take Sam Bennett, package him with Cantlay, and trade him for fucking Reed and Brooks to come back to the PGA Tour, because that guy takes fucking forever too. Oh my God.
Yeah, Brooks, there was on the green this morning. Brooks was getting mad. Brooks was getting angry at Bennett this morning. I noticed on one of the greens.
It's funny because there is the chatter, and it's just our speculation. I don't think it really, maybe it did end up like hurting Brooks that he was playing and having to wait at every tee box, because you can make the argument that, hey, John Rahm had to go through the exact same thing. It doesn't seem like Brooks takes it very well, and I can empathize with that. It's part of Brooks that I like, because I'll go out and play with Cust and our two other buddies, and you know who it is who's having a fucking meltdown on the tee? Because the guy who hits it into the woods every hole and then spends 15 minutes looking for his fucking ball that he never finds is now just yelling at someone 200 yards away. That's me. That's what I do when I'm on the course. It drives me fucking nuts. And so I empathize with Brooks in that way.
Oh, and he's quick. Like, he's a ready golfer. He's a ready golfer always.
If he comes back to the PGA Tour, they should have him with like, hey, I'm Brooks Koepka. Part of me coming back and disowning Liv is that I get to play with Brandt Snedeker for every round. And we'll play in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'd be in on that. I love that everyone is now going to hate Patrick Cantlay as much as I do. It's fucking fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right. For the true Cantlay haters, this might be a big break. Like, getting a lot of followers this week. Your follower count's going up.
Like, and it's so funny to watch him play too, because the moment he sniffs contention, 4-putt, missing from 2 feet. The moment he's out of contention, he's sticking fucking 6 irons on number 6 to 2 feet. Like, that, it's the full Patrick Cantlay experience that sucks everyone in at every major, because you see it. You're like, oh my God, this guy makes shots no one else can make. To line up a 2-foot putt for over 5 minutes and then miss it has to be humiliating, isn't it? It would be one thing if you walked up like without being like, oh fuck, it's 2 feet, whatever. Walk up and miss it, like you feel like an idiot. It has to feel worse to do it the other way.
Exponentially worse to do it with like giving it your full routine and missing, than just like waggling it, getting cocky, and having like a brain fart, for sure.
So the last 2 majors that we've seen, Victor played in the final group and shot 74, and he played in the second to last group and he shot 74. I feel like these are good reps for him. It's coming.
I will not hate. People want to draw conclusions. That's up to them.
I mean, we watched fucking Rahm do this for 5 years.
Yeah, no, I'm very apologetic for my guys. I see something like that as a total learning experience. Even social media golfer Cam Young, I think.
Why is he a social media? I saw Emmanuel Acho replied to you, which spoiler alert, may or may not be Jeff's biggest rival of the year on the Custody Awards.
Oh yeah, coming up. Can't wait.
Coming up
for
soon.
that.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow.
No, I was just joking that like, oh my God, Cam Young's social. I don't believe that, but just the fact that his talent seems off the charts, like the stats in many ways, like is off the charts. Your eyeballs, it's off the charts, but he hasn't won a playoff game, a event, a regular event. You know, a major would be winning, like going to the Super Bowl. I compare that to my guy Justin Herbert, or your eyeballs, like it's undeniable. Stats, age. Anyhow, I'm not doubting Cam Young. I have a Cam Young 50-1 at the PGA Championship.
Oh, listen, man, Cam Young is going to be. He might win this week at Heritage. Like he's around too much not to win, and you can see the game that he has and why it's going to translate to major championships at the same time. Like, let's not forget, 2 years ago, I think EPAT pointed this out, that Cam Young was a guy that could barely hit an iron on the Korn Ferry Tour, and now look at him.
Yeah, that's I think our boy Josh Perry's big.
That's right. It was Josh Perry.
Who's like deep into Korn Ferry, and for the guys that are deep into Korn Ferry, they're mesmerized at Cam Young's improvement in iron play. Because he like wasn't even a top 10 iron 20 player on Korn Ferry. And full credit to all that. That eagle he missed, what was it? 2? Felt like 4 or 5 feet. But he'll do that. That's a full experience.
Hey, but he also made eagle on 13 from fucking 50 feet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's going to like go to Wells Fargo or something and just eviscerate a field soon. Like, I have no doubts. I don't know. Most golf fans, I think, would agree with that. I don't mean that specific tournament. I mean, like, come on. No one's actually questioning him.
What other notes do I have? I saw Luke Denis tweeted out that Jason Day revealed, I think it was him who tweeted it. No, he was the one who mentioned that Thomas Pieters threw his driver in the garbage can at number 10 and just used 3-wood the rest of the way and hit every fairway and made pars.
It's awesome.
Someone
snarfed that out of the garbage can too.
Yeah, that's what Peter said. The other one was Jason Day revealed that the PGA Championship last year at Southern Hills, the reason that Tiger withdrew wasn't that his knee hurt or his back hurt, but the pins from his surgery went through his skin.
Oh, I feel pain when I read or hear stuff like that. Like, I feel a shock of pain.
Has Jason Day just been keeping that close to the vest for a year now? And like, he was just waiting for someone to ask him?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that's about. Jason Day wanted a distraction from his weekend performance, so he dropped that nugget. So people,
I like that. Please don't ask me about my 4 double bogeys in a 6-hole stretch. I got some Tiger news for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look, like you cause a distraction, set off some fireworks somewhere. Obviously there'll be some big Tiger fallout from.
Do you think it's good or bad though? Like, because I've seen people are kind of torn on this, and it's mostly like, oh, like Tiger's such a joke, that kind of thing. But like, you know, everyone whose opinion that I care about all kind of fell on, I mean, that the same side that I did. It's just like, I'm so happy to have him out there. Just let him do whatever the fuck he wants. Oh, Geoff is frozen again. Solid internet on that front.
All right, we'll put it back over to you. Yeah,
Paul, I gotta ask you. There was a fight cancellation like right after lock on UFC last night, right?
Yeah, the UFC. I mean, you've got like DraftKings as a partner. It's like there's no way that like I wasn't actually playing, but like I didn't actually have any lineups for it, so it didn't really affect me or anything. But it's like, literally 5 minutes into the broadcast, the most owned fighter on the entire card on DraftKings is out. So 40% of the field is absolutely cooked. They already got rid of Late Swap. Late Swap was kind of a disaster, so like you don't actually want Late Swap back, but it's like all of the people who have him and the people, you know, it's the big guys don't really care. They're like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm dead this week, but like,
yeah, the guys that have 100K are like, yeah, fuck, that sucks.
Yeah, the people who have $5 are on it are like, we need Late Swap back again. But like, Late Swap was a disaster on it. But like, the UFC has to reveal these things. It's like they have to reveal it to the fans. It's like, for instance, I tune in and then they're talking at the desk for 30 minutes. Why? Because 3 minutes into the broadcast, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Chase Sherman is me and Cody had a 3-1 shoey bet on it too. So that was kind of disappointing.
Well, I wanted to equate it because like Will Zalatoris obviously withdraws before the round starts, and there's no alternate for the Masters, so you can't really replace him with anything. And if you think that a late swap in UFC on DraftKings was a disaster, just imagine how bad it would be in PGA.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's pretty similar. They're all like they're basically independent contractors, right? So it's like you don't really have to tell anybody what's going on.
No, but like I think the thing that people forget about late swap is that it's only going to advantage the people that play the most money.
For sure, because they'll figure out the algorithm with all the ownerships and stuff, and figure out what the best pivot is for each type of build that they have. Like, you may have a little bit of like it may be okay for the first little bit, but once the spreadsheet virgins start figuring these things out, like it's only bad things moving forward. Like that's what was happening with like the UFC late swap. It just became so much work that I was like constantly like pivoting my lineups through over the course of the night. I'm like, this isn't even really fun anymore. Like MMA.
Yeah, and that's only what. And that's what, 14 fights potentially on a card. In the PGA, you're just running tee times for 8 hours that you'd have to be paying attention to.
No, exactly, right? I mean, PGA, it doesn't seem like there's that many late pullouts. What, like,
see, David says DK Golf should be pick 7 golfers and count the top 6 scores. That used to be the Draft Street way that you did before DraftKings bought Draft Street like 6 years ago or whatever it was. I don't mind that one. I think that's the best solution, but I don't know. I've both benefited and been absolutely fucked by withdrawals when it comes to DraftKings lineup. I think it's kind of an endearing part of the game.
Yeah, you just have to like learn to just deal with it. Like,
yeah, learn not to be a fucking loser and just like get over it.
And the thing about it is, if you're a smaller time player, it's gonna help you sometimes too. It's like if you didn't have Carl Williams last night, like you were looking pretty good because 40% of the field was cooked. Jeff's back.
Jeff, here's a statement I want to hit you with, okay?
Yeah.
It took me, I want to say, 3 minutes of watching the Butler Cabin interview to realize that was Scotty Scheffler sitting next to John Rahm and not one of the random Augusta non-player characters that we get like walking around the grounds. He just looks like he works at Augusta National.
He was very showered and dressed like he was going to church. He had his like khaki slacks on and a white button up. You know, I don't know. I knew it was him. It was pretty obvious it was him, but
just like he looks exactly like all of the non-golfers who are wearing green jackets around the grounds. He looks just like them.
Okay, fair enough.
Like it was incredible. Just to see him there, just like he even got his like hair because he had like the side part on the go. I forgot about I mean, I didn't forget it was Easter. I had Easter dinner and I was like drinking some wine. Bit riled up here. It was a great excuse to like get away from like the in-laws and the family all day. Fantastic news. So like, hey, I gotta work, gotta watch golf. I mean, that's one of the greatest things about sometimes having to work on Easter and work on Good Friday and work on holidays and work on Christmas. That part can really suck when you work in sports. But having to say to your wife or family, like, I have to watch all of these week 8 games. I have to watch Sunday at the RBC Heritage because it's my job. It's a great out. And it's not even like really true. I could probably catch up on it later.
Yeah, of course. You can always catch up on it later. And honestly, Pat, not to say you do this, I don't think there's any secret, but you could honestly not watch and you're so informed, you could just like fake it anyway.
Well, if I had the Masters app for every tournament, I wouldn't even need to fake it because I could actually see every shot from my phone while I was doing something else.
Sometimes.
It was the worst it's been since the very first year that they had the Masters app, only from the shot by shot like video tracker, because the leaderboard was still more up to date than fucking TV was.
TV was ahead of that app. There were some.
No, TV was not ahead of the app. It wasn't.
Sometimes it was.
Most of the time it wasn't. Like when you say ahead of the app in terms of the score or the videos?
The scoring.
No, the score of the app was faster.
Sometimes the app would stop working for 20 minutes at like a time.
I mean, I didn't find that it stopped working. I thought that the shot by shot stopped working, but the leaderboard itself would update in faster time than anything else.
Hot take, Jeff. Maybe it was your internet.
No, I would not even on like Wi-Fi. Honestly, I'm plugged in here, but Sunday night, I guess it's just people are home surfing the web.
No, like when you say that you're plugged in,
I'm plugged
what are
in.
you plugged in to?
Here's this Ethernet cord, hardwired.
From the router? Like directly to the router?
Directly through the router, runs on the floor, right into there. I bought extension routers. Or not router, extension Ethernet cords.
It's probably the Wi-Fi extender, so it like takes the feed from the main. That's what I would guess it is.
Listen, Sunday night's a real busy time.
That shouldn't make a difference. You're hardwired in.
People are on Netflix. The kids are watching.
I don't know. I keep hearing like the beep. You stop hearing me because I disconnect, and then I hear the beeping in my house that's letting me know like my alarm system isn't connected anymore, and everyone's annoyed. The kids' iPads don't work. There's bigger problems.
I suppose that is true. Maybe you
need
the whole
thing.
I've never had these problems with Cam. Maybe Cam can come over and help you out.
I'd love Cam to come over anytime he wanted. It's an open invitation.
Well, that's all I really got for the Masters. I thought it was a great time. I mean, I lost all my money, but that's nothing new. I really thought the victor had a chance when the day started. And like if we're gonna paste, hey, Cantlay fucked up Brooks in the group behind him. Did he fuck up Hovland too?
Maybe he did, Pat. Maybe he did. I will say it's another year where essentially, you could speak more to the pre-tournament trends because I know some people like pick some holes in Rahm not having like that T15 in the lead up. But all the three times. But agreed. But for some trends that wasn't good enough. But all the in-tournament Masters trends, were exact. Like this tournament almost tells you who can win. Like the 4 players who can win after Thursday. And it seems pretty evergreen.
So, yeah, I mean, that is true. If Scotty Scheffler putts field average, he actually beats Jon Rahm's score. If he just breaks even with the field.
Is Patrick Cantlay in second?
Patrick Cantlay didn't even lose that many strokes putting. He did on Sunday.
Yeah, I guess.
See, here's how close people pay attention to this stuff. Ollie asked, didn't Rahm shoot a provisional after he went on the 18th hole after he went far left and then he played the provisional and wasn't given a penalty shot? Like, were you not watching? It's not what happened. He had to hit the shot fucking 40 feet in front of him.
Did you care about the Brooks penalty stuff? I was amused. People like, yeah, that's not a penalty.
What, the Woodland stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that on Friday. Who fucking cares? Just a bunch of fucking losers in their basement trying to complain about something. Like, fuck off. Yeah, or like the super golf hardo guy who's equally as terrible.
Yeah, it was almost like, just going to put this out there. It almost seemed like no laying up was on this agenda to get Brooks penalized 2 strokes.
I mean, take it too seriously, non-professional golfer guy, one of the worst guys that there is. Like, do you have any? I have one friend who's like it, and like we won't play with him anymore. Like, he's insufferable to play with.
Those guys are the worst. Are the absolute worst. I'm out there to have a good time, hit some shots.
Like we have a friend who just microdoses mushrooms the entire time. He's not like super caring if you're like, hey, I'm behind this tree. I don't want to hit it from here. I'm just gonna move it over here. It's like, yeah, go.
And like you, Pat, like I'm pretty self-aware. Like I can play with. I'm not as good as them, but I can play with really good golfers and respect the certain level of decorum that comes with playing with them and in and around the green. And I'm down to play with my buddies where it's just straight like jokes and like I don't like.
Yeah, like if you're playing for cash or you're in a tournament, like a real setting, that is one thing. But I don't need, hey, do you want to go play 3:00 on a Thursday? Okay. And like super serious guy is out there. It's like, man, you need to calm down.
Yeah, I agree. But all sports have that. Like even, you're not speaking for you, but you're over 35 years old. You're in some like Jewish softball league and You're being softball guy, thinking you're still going to the majors, ready to dive into a fence, separate a shoulder. I'm like, fucking loser. I don't die for anything.
Patrick Cantlay lost 3 strokes putting in round 4. That tracks. Hideki lost 4.5.
Yeah, Hideki was on one at times.
But for the tournament, looking at tee to green, Rahm, Scheffler were the only 2 to gain above 3 strokes per round tee to green. And Scheffler finished 8 strokes back.
Woodland had to be kind of close on that, or
no, man. Woodland was putting the lights out in round 3 or round 4 at least. Like Woodland putted pretty well all week. Yeah, he gained 2.4 strokes putting. He gained like over 4 strokes tee to green, but like I was super impressed by his chipping and putting, except for the one that he left up on the ledge on.
Oh
9.
yeah,
like
it was early, five or six.
It was number 9 where he left it up on the ledge, trying to roll it back down the hill, trying to get real creative. And it's funny that we talk about the like really creative players end up winning at Augusta time over time. Gary is not a creative player. He might as well be a robot. And when the robots start trying to do creative things, it doesn't really work out all that well. Like just fucking take out a 9-iron and like punch putt it up the hill, Gary. We don't need you hitting like flops to roll back down a hill. A shot that like Phil would try to do. Gary's trying to do. Like that's not his game. I don't know what he was trying. I don't know what he was thinking.
I like that. When the like robots got to get creative, they really do malfunction.
Yeah, it's like people are saying Chat GPT is going to take over the world. It's going to replace writers for, movies and books and all this stuff. It's like, no, it's not. Like they can't figure this. Like they can't figure the creative aspect, the nuts and bolts. Sure. How it works, what to do, instruction manuals. Absolutely. But the creative process just can't be translated that way. It makes them malfunction.
Those automated voiceovers for the shots were really painful. Like who even
listen to any of them?
Who's it for though?
I don't know. That's actually
like
really
disabled people. I mean,
I was going to say my dad, but my dad doesn't have the fucking Masters app, so it doesn't matter.
No, but who's that actually for? Like,
if you didn't know it was AI generated, would you have known?
At a certain point, I think I would have. Maybe not right away. At a certain point, I mean, maybe I'm just putting air in my own tires. I like to think I'm bright enough. At a certain point in the tournament, I'd have caught on that something's weird about this guy talking to me.
Let's see. Yeah, someone brought up DJ's third round. I remember, put it this way: I had DJ in my third round showdown lineups. Yeah, I was watching. He led the field. He led the field in approach in round 3, and he was 6 over. It was fucking embarrassing. And he was playing with Seb Strzok, who had huge oven mitts on.
How's that even possible?
He hit it out of bounds a bunch of times, and he couldn't make a putt to save his life. That was it. That's all I got. People, I wonder if there are any questions you have for Jeff and I about the Masters, fun things that you remember, because I'm just trying to think back through my mind and just even to look at my notes. Like we got through everything.
Hey, Jeff, did you have like a secret, like Gary top 20 ticket or something like that?
Yeah, I had some like buried Garys.
Yeah.
And I'm happy Vic made the top 10. I got Vic to T10 in all 4 majors at 160 to 1. So we knocked one down. Off to what? It's Oak Hill.
Oh, boy.
So we're off to Oak Hill, and
that's a full top 10 too for him.
Yeah, full top 10.
That was a big putt on 16 for that full. I guess it wouldn't have mattered because Thigala came 9th. So if Thigala's back in next year, that's awesome. So even if he kind of hits the skids a little bit, everyone else like you was going to be in anyway. I guess Henley. I almost tweeted out when Henley was in 5th. It was Rahm, Brooks, Phil, Spieth, and Henley was the leaderboard that I was looking at on my app. It's like so many tours represented here. The Live Tour, the PGA Tour, and I don't know, the Korn Ferry Tour with Russell Henley. I thought that was a bit too mean for Russell Henley. He's a really good player, but he just seems so out of place with those other names.
Sorry, Pat. I'm distracted because my buddy sent me a message. He was wondering why his Masters bets weren't graded. And it's because he accidentally, what he thought were Masters bets, were on the PGA Championship. So he didn't have Rahm, but his losers are still live. And I'm losing it in my head. And this is a guy, this is a lawyer, and people actually trust this guy with like important documents.
Don't trust him with your bets.
Don't worry. His friends make fun of him, as it should be in life.
Quick.
Oh yeah, so it's funny. We didn't even mention Rory.
Rory's
I don't care.
floor is low. Always.
What's that?
Of the elite players, Rory's floor is always the lowest.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. And the last time that he missed the cut at the Masters, he had also missed the cut at the Players like he did this year too. Like Rory misses cuts in big events. It's like, but what you forget is that Rory's going to, I mean, Rahm went on a heater and then Scheffler went on a heater. And it's like, and now when we talk about it, it's like, oh, those are the two guys. Hell, if you had to ask people tonight who the top 3 players in the world are, they would tell you the top 3 players as of this moment are Scheffler, Rahm, and Brooks is what they would tell you. And Rory sucks, but Rory's going to win like 3 tournaments in a row sometime in like August. And it's going to be like, oh yeah, Rory's awesome. He's back to being the number 1 player in the world again. And they're going to repeat the cycle all over. It's like, how could Rory lose at Augusta this time? Then he'll miss the cut again. Happens every year.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know, Rory, I kind of feel bad for him because his preparation was, it's almost as if he had more on course pre-week of preparation there than anyone in the history of the tournament. Feel bad because he's probably in a dark place this week. Although he's going to maybe win the Heritage. What do I know?
Yeah, that would be very classic Rory stuff. Just he wins the Heritage by 7 or something.
He could have the RBC double.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't considered that. Just as important as the Masters, I think, if you can win both RBCs.
But with all like the true full field showing up at the Heritage, there's just too many bombers to not one of them is going to be amazing. Just overpower that place, I think.
See, that's what you say. That's what you say. But go back, and this is what I did the breakdown on the research show. And we'll dig into this tomorrow when we do the Heritage Pick show. But like the final leaderboard at Heritage in 2020, when it was all of the top guys, the second tournament out of COVID, I think it ended up being like Webb, Hatton, Answer, Sergio, like all the guys that you would expect to play well at the Heritage were just still up there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like it's still a course that requires strategy. It has the shortest average drive of any course on the PGA Tour. It's only like 284 or something like that, or even lower, like 260 something. Like there's forced layups, and like you're better off being in the right rough than the left fairway on half the holes because it gives you a better angle at the hole. Like I don't really know what bombing it is going to do for you here, except for maybe bring in more trouble.
Question?
Yes, sir.
I think somebody in the chat was asking a similar question, but like they gotta like expand the live guys into the rest of the majors now, right? After this, because like people
they won't. That's going to be a reckoning the moment the live guys are no longer qualified for the majors, which isn't really that big of a deal this year because I think like 7 or 8 of them are already qualified for the PGA Championship. Reed is the one who's like shit out of luck right now because he's not in anymore because his exemptions are up.
Well, I mean, like the players came and went, and like it was already like the worst of, it's the 5th major. It has to call itself the 5th major, so it's obviously not important, but like it felt even less significant this year. And then the Masters comes through and you're like, oh, it's pretty cool having Brooks and Phil and all of these, like all of the best golfers in the world are at a tournament again. This is what it used to be like. Like it was refreshing to see all of the best guys kind of out there.
I agree, but I think like when we say it's a win for live, I think that's more what it's going to be is that, but I do think that they might show up to the PGA Championship, get smoked out of the water because it's not Augusta, a place where everyone knows. And then those lack of reps kind of catch up to you in a way. I mean, that's a theory. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think this works out well for live and the majors by and large, because you're right. It did feel more important. It felt like a bigger, more competitive tournament because those guys were there. Straight up. Like 98 of the top 100 players in the world rankings who are eligible, but it's not 98. Only 2 players inside the top 100 of the world rankings who are eligible to play are playing next week at the Heritage. And that field doesn't sniff this field, although its strength of field is better. I got a quote for you, Geoff.
That's interesting, but you're right.
Let's see here. Asked, you're a pretty fast player, as we know. Curious your thoughts on the pace of play this afternoon. Brooks Koepka. Yeah, the group in front of us was brutally slow. John went to the bathroom like 7 times during the round. We were still waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I miss Brooks. But you know what? Having him 4 times a year is great.
When is, like, because of this Masters, Pat, it almost feels like his major odds are locked in now for probably at least maybe even a full year now.
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't know.
Did you see our boy Joe tour picks?
Yeah, he had it would have been 100K if Brooks won. I mean, he should be mad at Cust. That's who I'd be mad at.
Has Cust responded since the tournament ended?
He has not. I mean, it's Easter. It's Cust. It's a big day for him. Loves the Lord. Very sacred.
He does love the Lord.
Yeah, there's the Tim right there. If people missed the big Ander curse from earlier, from Thursday morning.
1 hole in, and then Rahm went -9 on the rest or the next 17 holes. And
someone on Twitter just asked me why the payouts. The payout for the Masters, I think it was last year's payout and the one and done. Like, what the fuck what am I, the fucking programmer of the goddamn game? Like, I'm gonna fucking know that? Idiot. Just tag the play, send them an email, be like, hey, you got it wrong. They'll update it for you. What am I gonna do? Write you an IOU and like take a picture of it and tweet it to you? Fucking idiot. All right, we've reached the point where I'm now just mad at things that I see. And I've had a very good time because it was an excellent Masters, Geoff. So what do you want to do for tomorrow's show? Do you want to go? Because I have something to record at 2 p.m. Central, which is 3 p.m. your time. I got to film my mock draft with Thor and Ray, a show I know that you like a lot.
I do. I enjoy both of them, and it's almost my mock draft season. Not that I make them, but like at that 2 weeks out point, I really start to read up on players who aren't just quarterbacks, who I feel like are omnipresent on my radar, tight ends and receivers for me. I'll do whatever you want. You just let me know what time you want to record.
Okay, maybe we go at 1 p.m. Eastern?
Done.
1 p.m. Eastern. Do our show prep here. So yeah, 2 p.m. my time. Yeah, I think that works out. My wife should be home by then. Family are coming over. The kids, it's Easter Monday. You can't go to fucking school. Everyone needs their goddamn days off. Fuck. Jesus Christ, right? This guy giving everyone days off. Can't stand it. Killing me over here. Someone should run. Like I always said, someone should run the holiday like daycare or whatever it is. I'll pay for that. It's fine. I'll lose fewer golf bets so I can afford to go do that. Pay people on the Friday and Monday. That would be excellent. But yeah, so we'll record that at 2. We'll release that after mock draft for later in the week. If you are here right now, smash the like, sub to the channel. Subbing to the channel will get you in the draw for the $500 we're giving away with Tambo on this week's show. And you can get 10 ballots each into the draw by subscribing, rating, and reviewing 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts for the Pat Mayo Experience. All right? You'll be very appreciative. I would be very appreciative, should I say. And so would Geoff. I'm sure everyone would be too. We are almost at 5,000 reviews. We'd like to get above that number. That'd be a big milestone for us. So please help us out on that front. Heritage tomorrow, Heritage the next day, NFL mock draft, sitcom bracket coming out soon as well, because I am heading on vacation in about 3 days. But hey, Custy's panel. We have, I think, 17 banked shows for the 13 days that I'm gone. So plenty of content coming out. So continue to download, watch. And I want to thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the Masters too. I hope you didn't listen too hard and you actually won money this week, because I would, be happy if you won money. I'm sure you would too. But that'll do it for Geoff. That will do it for me. I'm Pat Mayo, and I'll see you next time.